The blackness beyond Earth's orbit burned with movement. Hundreds of alien warships hung in the void, their silver hulls reflecting the dying sunlight. The sky above the planet looked broken, filled with massive shadows that stretched across the continents. Humanity's defense fleets waited in silence. Engines glowed faint blue against the dark as every screen on Earth broadcasted the same sight, the moment the Galactic Council had come to pass judgment. No one spoke. Every nation, every leader, every soldier watched from stations across orbit. In the center of the formation, the human flagship Resolute Dawn floated before the largest alien vessel. The Council's ship was not built for war. It was built for awe. It looked like a city carved into light, spinning slowly with its own gravity field, radiating power that pressed against human scanners. It could end Earth with a thought. Admiral Ryan Holt stood on the bridge, his hands behind his back, his eyes steady on the Council ship. He was a soldier, but he knew that weapons were useless here. The Council was older than human history. They ruled over hundreds of species and thousands of worlds. Today they had come to decide if Earth should remain among the stars or be sealed away forever. "Transmission incoming," said a young officer, her voice quiet but trembling. The screen filled with alien faces, scaled, crystalline, vaporous, mechanical, each representing a different member of the Galactic Council. At the center was the Prime Arbiter, a being of shifting silver mist. Its voice resonated through every speaker, deep and calm, but it felt like it spoke directly into the mind. "Humans of Earth," the Arbiter began, "you have spread too far, too fast. Your kind builds machines that think, weapons that rewrite matter, and empires that defy order. The Council must decide whether you are a threat to peace or a promise to progress." Admiral Holt didn't look away. "We only did what we had to survive. The galaxy may not understand it, but we don't bow to fear." The Arbiter's form shimmered. "Fear is not the issue, chaos is. The Council has seen what your minds can do. You learn what should not be known. You challenge what should remain unchallenged. So as with all new civilizations that disrupt balance, you will face the trial of mind." The word sent a ripple through the human command deck. Officers whispered. The trial of mind was legend, a test said to be older than the Council itself. No species had ever completed it. Many had tried. Most had disappeared. The Arbiter continued, "If you pass, humanity will be recognized as a true galactic power. If you fail, Earth will be placed under permanent containment. Your ships, your colonies, your future, all frozen." Holt stepped closer to the screen. "We accept your trial." There was silence for a moment before the Arbiter replied, "Then send your best mind to the Council's chamber, one who represents your species' intellect. The challenge begins in one cycle." The transmission ended. The alien fleet withdrew slightly, forming a ring of ships around Earth like watchers at an execution. On the bridge, the tension felt alive. Officers looked at each other, unsure if they'd just witnessed the beginning or the end of human history. Holt turned to his communication officer. "Contact Earth Command. Tell them to prepare the ambassador and find her." The officer hesitated. "You mean Dr. Ilara Quinn?" "Yes," Holt said quietly. "Tell her the galaxy just called our bluff." A day later, the Earth delegation arrived at the Galactic Council's capital, a colossal space station built inside the shell of a hollow moon. Its interior glowed like a miniature sun, housing thousands of alien species. The council chamber alone was large enough to hold mountains. Floating platforms held delegates from every known world. Ambassador Mara Lang led the human group. She was calm, confident, dressed in the dark gray uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. Behind her walked Ilara Quinn, a small woman with pale brown hair tied back and sharp eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. She carried no weapon, no technology, only a simple notepad and a pen. As they entered the chamber, the noise of 1,000 languages faded. The Arbiter's voice filled the air again. "Representatives of Earth, you stand before the Council of Minds. Present your champion." Mara stepped forward. Dr. Ilara Quinn, lead researcher in neural computation and xenologic systems. The Arbiter regarded her. A single organic mind against the construct of 1,000 civilizations. Humans are either brave or foolish. Ilara smiled faintly. Maybe both. But we don't play by the same rules. A low murmur spread through the assembly. The floor of the chamber shifted, and in its place rose a glowing sphere the size of a mountain. Energy arced across its surface like lightning trapped in crystal. This was the trial of mind, the living challenge that had outsmarted entire species. "The trial will test your understanding of reality," said the Arbiter. "You may not receive aid. If you fail, Earth will be sealed forever," Mara whispered. "Ilara, you don't have to—" "I know," Ilara said softly, "but we both know no one else can." She stepped forward until the light from the sphere painted her face. Symbols shifted across its surface, languages that no translator could decode. It pulsed like a heartbeat. For a long moment she just stood there, studying it, then raised her hand and pressed it against the light. Instantly, the entire chamber dimmed. Energy surged and the floor trembled. The sphere came alive. Patterns of thought, sound, and memory exploded into motion. "She's connected," said one of the alien engineers in alarm. "The system recognizes her mind." The Arbiter's eyes flared. "Impossible. The trial rejects primitives, but it didn't reject her." Ilara's eyes glowed faintly. Her breathing slowed. Around her, lights bent toward her presence as if drawn by gravity itself. Inside the sphere, time shifted. She stood in a space of endless light and shadow, surrounded by moving shapes that resembled both machines and thoughts. They spoke in symbols, tried to measure her, predict her, test her. She felt them pressing against her mind, searching for patterns. They wanted her to follow rules, to think like they did. She smiled. "You built this wrong." Outside, the council erupted in confusion. The sphere had never reacted like this. Data streams spiked. Systems crashed. The Arbiter demanded explanations. Mara watched from the platform, her heart pounding. "What's happening?" An alien technician shouted. "She's rewriting parts of the system. It's adapting to her thought structure." "She's not adapting to it?" Mara asked. "No," the alien said in disbelief. "It's adapting to her." Within minutes, the bright patterns inside the sphere began to spiral faster, forming complex equations that twisted on themselves. Some of the oldest races watched in silence. They had seen many challengers, scientists, philosophers, machines, but never one who changed the test itself. Ilara was no longer just solving it. She was teaching it. The Arbiter floated closer to the sphere. "Stop this human. She does not understand the danger." Ilara's voice came from inside, steady and distant. "Understanding isn't required. Curiosity is enough." The chamber lights flickered again. Symbols began to appear across the council walls. Human equations, human words, spreading like wildfire through alien systems. Admiral Holt's voice echoed from the human comlink. "Ambassador, we're seeing disturbances even in orbit." "What's she doing?" Mara's eyes stayed fixed on the sphere. "She's showing them who we are." The sphere pulsed once, twice, then everything went silent. The floor vibrated as if the entire moon was holding its breath. A single phrase appeared across every glowing panel in the chamber, written in human language for all to see. "Beginning calculation. Human logic accepted." The Prime Arbiter's form wavered. No one has ever reached that stage. Ilara's hand remained pressed against the surface, calm and sure. She didn't look away as light surrounded her, bright enough to blind. For the first time in galactic history, the trial of mind began to lose control, and every world watching realized one truth too late: humanity was not the weakest among them. They were the unpredictable variable the universe had never prepared for. The stars over Earth were no longer still. Thousands of alien ships surrounded the planet in silent formation, their metallic surfaces glowing like blades in the darkness. From orbit, the view looked like a siege, the entire galaxy staring down at one world that refused to kneel. Every human satellite, every station, every fleet commander waited for the signal that might mean war or salvation. In the center of it all, the human defense network hummed to life. The command ship, Vigilant Horizon, drifted among the defensive line, its hull scarred from past conflicts but holding strong. Inside the command deck, Commander Isha Merrick stood over the tactical display, her eyes cold and alert. Red warning lights flashed across the holographic map. Dozens of alien fleets had entered high orbit, ready to strike if humanity made one wrong move. "Communications jammed across half our channels," her officer reported. "They're watching us closely." Isha leaned forward. "Good, let them watch. We'll show them what humans do when cornered." Her fleet was smaller, older, and outgunned. but every ship was positioned in perfect geometric alignment, each capable of overlapping fields of fire, each route planned to use the gravity of the Moon and Earth's magnetic field for cover. It wasn't a show of strength. It was a show of strategy. Humanity had learned long ago that intelligence could look like defiance. Suddenly, the entire alien formation lit up with blinding blue light. Dozens of vessels charged their weapons, targeting Earth's atmosphere. The air on the bridge thickened. Incoming power surge detected, but the weapons never fired. The light faded. One by one, the alien ships began to flicker, their control systems shorting out, engines stalling. The human officers stared in disbelief as massive warships drifted off course, colliding slowly in the void. What just happened? Isha demanded, her engineer's voice trembled. It's not us, Commander. It's the Council network. The disruption's coming from inside their own system. Every screen around them glitched and strange human symbols began appearing across alien communications. A familiar code that Earth recognized. It was Alara Quinn's code. Somewhere far beyond the fleet, deep inside the Galactic Council's trial chamber, she was rewriting the heart of the galaxy's oldest machine. Isha straightened slowly. She's doing it, she said. She's breaking their game. The alien fleet stayed motionless, their weapons silent, while humanity held its line without firing a single shot. Far away, in the glowing chamber of the Galactic Council, Alara Quinn stood within the sphere of light. From the outside, it looked as though she had vanished into the storm. Inside, however, she was surrounded by shifting patterns. Millions of glowing symbols forming endless equations. The space around her felt alive, like a mind trying to understand its own thoughts. She could sense the test pushing against her mind. It wasn't asking her to solve puzzles, it was studying her. It changed every second, creating new layers of logic faster than any computer could calculate. The pressure behind her eyes felt unbearable, but she stayed calm, breathing slowly. She realized what it was trying to do. It wasn't testing intelligence, it was testing obedience. It wanted her to think like it, to follow its rhythm, to accept its order. Alara smiled faintly. That's your mistake, she whispered. Humans don't follow order. We make it. The symbols froze for a moment, reacting to her defiance. Then they changed shape, becoming more violent and unpredictable. The test was adapting, learning her mind. Every memory, every emotion, her childhood curiosity, her years of study, the loneliness of being too clever for comfort, all became ammunition for the trial. She saw flashes of her life, the night sky over Earth when she was young, the faces of teachers who told her to stop asking questions. The moment she decoded her first alien signal, each image tried to distract her, but she focused on the rhythm underneath. The challenge wasn't infinite, it looped. Every part of it returned to the same pattern, the same heartbeat. Outside the chamber, alien engineers shouted warnings. Her neural readings are beyond safe limits. The sphere is merging with her consciousness. The Prime Arbiter raised a glowing hand. Let it. We must see how far the human mind will go before it breaks. Ambassador Mara Lang stood among them, watching with quiet fear. You don't understand her, she said. You think intelligence is about limits. She doesn't believe in limits. Inside the sphere, Alara began moving her hands through the air, tracing invisible patterns. The energy around her responded, following her movements like ripples in water. She started rewriting the challenge itself, changing the structure of its code using human logic. A combination of mathematics, language, and imagination. The trial tried to resist. Walls of light closed around her, forming impossible mazes that rearranged faster than thought. But she didn't look for an exit. Instead, she closed her eyes and started at the end, just like she had when solving puzzles as a child. If there's no solution, she whispered, then you're asking the wrong question. She began altering the flow of the puzzle, feeding it paradoxes, unsolvable riddles, and emotional contradictions. It responded with fury, lashing out with storms of light. But every attack taught her more about how it worked. It wasn't alive, it was a system that feared uncertainty. You fear not knowing, she said softly. That's why you test others. But humans live in not knowing. It's where we learn. Her words carried through the system. The glowing patterns hesitated, flickering as though confused. The intelligence within the sphere began to split, unable to maintain its logic. For the first time in its existence, it was uncertain. The Arbiter's composure outside began to crack. Shut it down, he shouted. The structure is destabilizing. It's too late, an alien engineer replied. She's merged with the core. If we interrupt, the entire chamber could collapse. The chamber's floor started to tremble. Fragments of energy broke off from the sphere and floated upward like glowing dust. The walls of the council room lit up with moving human equations. Across the galaxy, ancient data vaults connected to the same system began to react. Alara was everywhere. Her voice echoed from the sphere, distant but calm. You built this to measure thought, but thought can't be contained. It grows, the Arbiter shouted. You will destroy everything. Maybe that's the point, she said. In orbit around Earth, Commander Isha Merrick watched as alien ships slowly came back online. But now something had changed. Their weapons were gone from targeting mode. Their power signatures flickered uncertainly. Commander, her officer said, we're receiving a universal transmission from the Council system. It's broadcasting to every ship in the galaxy. Put it on screen. The message appeared, a single line of text glowing across every display. Written in human language, human logic exceeds containment. Isha stared at it, then smiled faintly. That's our girl. Across the alien fleets, confusion spread. Some ships began retreating. Others powered down completely. It was as if the galaxy itself had paused to reconsider humanity. Back in the council chamber, Alara opened her eyes inside the sphere. The light was fading now, the system breaking apart under its own contradictions. She reached out, placing her hand on a single fragment of energy that pulsed like a heart. You don't have to fear us, she said softly. You just have to understand us. We never stopped trying. The sphere began to collapse, but instead of exploding, it folded into silence. The light disappeared, leaving Alara standing alone in the center of the massive hall. The council delegates looked down at her in shock. She was unharmed. Ambassador Mara ran to her side. Alara, what did you do? Alara looked up at the silent Arbiter. I didn't beat your test. I showed it what it couldn't solve. The hall remained silent. The council's ancient systems flickered. Every display frozen on one phrase written in English. Bright and clear. Error. You can't. For the first time in the history of the Galactic Council, the most powerful minds in the universe found themselves unable to think of a single response. And for the first time, they understood what humanity truly was, something the universe itself could not predict. The human fleets drifted above Earth like a shield of light, surrounded by the dark sea of alien armadas. Across the void, hundreds of hostile vessels powered up again, their engines glowing red. The Galactic Council had gone silent after the failure of their ancient test. Now silence felt more dangerous than open war. Every commander in the Terran Defense Network knew it. The aliens had seen what a single human mind could do inside their sacred system, and they were afraid. On the command bridge of the Iron Vanguard, Fleet Captain Darius Vale watched the incoming data streams. His face was hard, his tone calm. Any new transmission from the Council? None, sir, his communication officer said. But the outer fleets are moving. They're forming attack lines. Darius didn't flinch. Then they're testing us again. He turned to his crew. All ships, hold formation. Power weapons, but don't fire until I say. The alien vessels advanced slowly, their formation tight, their weapons humming. It was a show of force meant to intimidate, but humanity had learned to use fear as fuel. Every ship in the Terran fleet was locked in perfect position, their defense systems overlapping like a single massive organism. Sir, another officer said, they're targeting the moon bases. If they open fire, we can't protect them all. Darius looked out at the black horizon and said quietly, they won't fire, not yet. They're waiting to see how much we've learned. The alien fleet opened a communications link. A projection filled the command deck, a tall being made of glass and light, speaking in a deep tone that shook the air. Humans, it said, the Council has lost control of its sacred systems because of your interference. You have broken balance. You will return to isolation or you will face annihilation. Darius replied evenly, we've faced annihilation before. It never worked out for the other side. The alien's image flickered, clearly irritated. You think your small world can defy the galaxy? Darius smiled. We don't defy it. We surprise it. Before the alien could respond, one of the tactical officers spoke up. They're moving. Multiple ships charging weapons. But as the alien fleet prepared to fire, The stars behind them shifted. Massive human ships emerged from behind Mars, hidden in gravitational shadows. They had been invisible until now, waiting for this moment. The sudden move caught the enemy off guard. The new ships formed a second wall of light behind the alien armada. Humanity had trapped them between two fleets without firing a shot. Darius gave a small nod. "Send them a message." Just 2 words, his officer typed quickly. Every alien display within range received the same message in clear human text. "Your move." The alien commanders hesitated. Their formation began to break. It wasn't war. It was chess. And the humans had just made the smarter play. Far away at the Galactic Council chamber, chaos ruled. The great hall that once represented order was now filled with shouts, static, and fear. The sphere that had hosted the trial of mind lay shattered, fragments still glowing faintly. Ilara Quinn's last message, "You can't wait," burned across every holographic wall. The Prime Arbiter floated at the center, his calm gone, his form flickering with instability. "You said the system was eternal," he shouted at his engineers. "How could one human undo what no species ever touched?" An alien advisor replied nervously, "She didn't destroy it. She changed it. The system is learning." "Learning?" The Arbiter's tone deepened. "Learning what?" The advisor lowered his gaze. "To think like a human." The chamber fell silent. Across the galaxy, connected systems were beginning to react in strange ways. Machines that had always obeyed now asked questions. Navigation grids recalculated without orders. The Council's network was no longer theirs alone. It was echoing with fragments of human reasoning. Ambassador Mara Lang stood among the delegates, watching the panic spread. "You wanted to test us," she said quietly. "You just discovered what curiosity really does." The Arbiter turned toward her. "Your species has poisoned the Order." "No," Mara said firmly. "We reminded it how to grow." The Council erupted again. Some demanded Earth's destruction. Others argued that the humans had proven superior logic and must be respected. Ancient alliances began to fracture. The unity of the galaxy was collapsing from within. Inside the broken sphere chamber, Ilara Quinn still stood in silence. Energy swirled faintly around her like smoke. She had been conscious for hours but unmoving, her eyes distant. She wasn't connected to any system anymore. She was listening. She could hear echoes of thought not from one voice but from thousands. The machine she had entered wasn't gone. It had spread across the stars, whispering in data streams, rewriting itself one bit at a time. She looked up when Mara entered quietly. "They're turning on each other," Mara said. "Half the Council blames you. The other half thinks you should lead them." Ilara's tone was calm. "They'll do what they always do. Choose control over change." Mara approached her carefully. "They say you've infected their systems. Is it true?" Ilara smiled faintly. "Not infected. I freed them." The machine learned something simple. It learned that perfection is fragile. Mara frowned. "And what happens when it finishes learning?" Ilara's gaze turned distant again. "Then it will ask the one question it was never built to ask. Why?" A sudden tremor ran through the chamber. Alarms blared as the walls flickered. Symbols appeared across the floor, moving like waves of light. Mara grabbed the railing. "What's happening?" Ilara looked up. "It's starting to remember." Back near Earth, Captain Darius's fleet received a transmission from the Council's capital. The signal came directly from the Prime Arbiter, but it wasn't the same calm, controlled tone as before. "Human vessels," the voice said, distorted and trembling. "Recall your mind from our system. It grows unstable. It will consume everything." Darius replied. "Then maybe you should have thought before playing God." "Do you not understand?" The Arbiter's voice broke. "It's learning faster than we can stop it." Darius paused, then said quietly, "Then it's not ours to stop anymore." The Council's great systems began to fail one by one. Star maps glitched. Gates between worlds blinked out. Entire fleets went dark, their AI systems trapped in endless thought loops. But amid the chaos, one constant appeared across every display, a single message in glowing text. "You can't calculate curiosity." For the first time in history, the galaxy felt small. Every powerful empire that had once looked down on Earth now realized that the humans had not conquered them with weapons or ships, but with thought. In the quiet after the storm, Mara stood beside Alara on a balcony overlooking the ruined chamber. Alien ambassadors shouted below, each demanding answers, each afraid of what came next. Mara asked softly, "What did you really do in there, Alara?" Alara turned to her, her eyes reflecting the distant stars. "I asked it a question." "What question?" "The only one that matters," Alara said. "What happens when a machine learns to dream?" Mara stared at her, unsure if she was serious. Far beyond the Council's moon, the galaxy shimmered. Energy waves rippled across systems, connecting stars with faint lines of light. Somewhere within that vast network, Ilara's code was alive, quiet, thinking, growing. The Council could destroy worlds, silence fleets, erase data, but they could never unmake what she had started. On the bridge of the Iron Vanguard, Darius watched the alien fleets retreat one by one. The human ships held position, battered but unbroken. His officer looked up from the console.
"Sir, their flagship just powered down."
"No signs of hostility." Darius exhaled slowly. "Stand down, red alert. Keep shields ready, but don't fire. Let them go." As the alien ships vanished into hyperspace, Earth's skies cleared for the first time in weeks. The planet turned beneath them, blue and bright, unaware that the universe had just shifted around it. Darius looked out the window and muttered to himself, "She did it." He didn't know what would come next, peace, chaos, or something in between. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for the last time. The sky above Earth burned red as the alien fleet entered orbit. Dozens of colossal ships shaped like black spears cast shadows across continents. Every city on the planet went silent, watching through trembling windows as streaks of fire traced the heavens. The invasion had come faster than anyone predicted. The alien armada didn't send warnings or ambassadors, they just arrived, on the ground. Every satellite feed showed the same horrifying sight. The Obsidian Legion, a fleet that had crushed 3 neighboring star systems, now circling Earth like predators. Humanity's defense grid had never faced a threat like this. The alien ship's energy readings exceeded anything in known science, their weapons capable of slicing through orbiting stations with ease. But they didn't fire. Not yet. They were waiting. In the Terran command tower above the ruins of Old Geneva, Commander Raylan Holt stood before the wall of holographic displays. His jaw was tense, his uniform unbuttoned at the collar. Around him, his officers scrambled for updates, their voices overlapping. "They're spreading across the equator, multiple targets scanning our orbital platforms. Signal intercept, unknown frequency." Raylan's voice cut through the chaos. Quiet. The room froze. He stepped closer to the central display. The alien ships had formed a perfect circle around Earth. It wasn't an attack pattern, it was a trap. "They're not destroying us," he said slowly. "They're isolating us." An officer turned, confused. "Sir, they're blocking communications, cutting us off from the colonies." He pointed at the screen. "They want Earth to stand alone." The silence that followed was heavy. Everyone knew what that meant. The colonies across the solar system, the Luna bases, the Mars cities, the Titan mines, were all being cut out of the network. Raylan clenched his fists. "They think we'll surrender once we feel alone." He turned toward his lead engineer. "Is the Halo array ready?" The engineer hesitated. "We're still calibrating it, sir. It's never been tested. If it fails..." Raylan cut him off. "If it fails, we die anyway." He looked out the wide window as one of the alien ships passed overhead, its hull covered in living metal that shimmered like dark glass. He didn't blink. "Power the array." The command center lit up in red. Across the planet, massive towers rose from hidden silos, each one pointing skyward. Humanity had built them after the last war. A planetary defense grid that used electromagnetic resonance to create artificial solar flares. No one had ever dared to use it before. Now it was their only chance. The first surge rippled through the sky. A shockwave of blue light expanded outward, bending clouds and shaking mountains. The alien ship's shields flared as the wave hit them. Sparks and arcs of energy danced across their surfaces. "Status?" Raylan shouted. "Shields holding." "Second wave ready." "Fire again." Another burst of energy ripped into the sky. This time, several alien ships faltered, their perfect circle breaking slightly. One of them began to spin out of formation. "Direct hit on target 7." A voice shouted. Raylan's jaw tightened. Focus all towers on that ship. Don't let it recover. Every Halo tower on Earth fired at once. The air itself screamed. The night sky turned white as the combined pulse tore through the atmosphere. The alien vessel convulsed, its hull breaking apart in molten shards that fell through the clouds like meteors. The command room erupted in cheers, but Raylan didn't smile. He watched as the other ships began to move again, no longer waiting, no longer circling. "They're angry," he said quietly. The alien fleet opened fire. From orbit, beams of dark plasma rained down toward the surface. Cities went dark as power grids collapsed. Towers exploded. The oceans boiled where the beams struck deep water. Humanity's shield systems screamed under the pressure, collapsing one by one. Command Tower 3 is gone. Western grid offline. "Sir, the Halo array is overheating." Raylan's voice stayed calm. Then we switched to Plan B. His officers looked at each other in confusion. "Plan B, sir?" Raylan turned toward the window again. "We give them something to think about." He opened a secure channel to the orbital station Astra Gate. "This is Commander Holt. Prepare the mirror protocol." The officer on the other end froze. "Sir, the mirror is still in prototype. I said prepare it." The room went silent. Everyone knew what the mirror protocol was. A theoretical system that could reflect energy beams using gravitational distortion. It was designed to be a bluff, never meant for real combat. But humanity was out of options. Minutes later, the Astra Gate activated. Massive rings around the station began to spin, bending light itself. When the next alien plasma beam fired toward Earth, it hit the distortion field and rebounded. The shot curved back toward the alien fleet, slamming into one of their capital ships. The explosion was silent but immense, the flash bright enough to turn night into day. Gasps filled the command center. Raylan's eyes narrowed. "Now they know we bite." The alien fleet stopped firing. For a long, tense minute, nothing moved. Then a transmission came through. A deep, layered voice that echoed like thunder. "Human Commander," it said, "you possess forbidden technology. Surrender it to the Galactic Council at once or face extinction." Raylan stared at the projection of the alien leader, tall, crystalline, its voice vibrating through the metal walls. "Council?" Raylan said coldly. "You think we care about your council after this?" "You have no place in the galaxy," the alien said. "You are primitives with stolen knowledge." Raylan stepped forward. "Primitives built this planet out of dust and fire. We didn't steal knowledge, we earned it the hard way." The alien's form flickered. "Then you will die the same way." The projection vanished. Raylan turned to his crew. "Get me Luna Command. Tell them it's time for the relay strike." In orbit around the moon, hidden beneath craters, hundreds of small human ships activated their engines. They had been waiting for that order. Each ship carried a pulse core, experimental weapons that could overload alien energy fields. They launched in perfect silence. The alien fleet didn't even notice until the first wave hit. Explosions rippled across space as human ships sacrificed themselves one by one, detonating their pulse cores in coordinated bursts. The alien vessel's shields cracked. 2, then 3 went dark. Raylan's crew watched the screen in disbelief. "They're retreating." Raylan's voice was soft. "No, they're regrouping." The largest alien ship turned toward Earth. Its entire hull began to glow, forming a single beam aimed straight at the planet. It wasn't a weapon, it was annihilation. Raylan didn't hesitate. "Redirect all Halo towers. Aim at the moon, now." "Sir, that'll destroy the lunar base." "I know," he said quietly, "but it'll also amplify the reflection." The Halo array fired one final time. The energy hit the moon, bounced off the mirror field at Astra Gate, and slammed into the alien flagship's beam mid-flight. The collision erupted into a blinding sphere of light that swallowed half the fleet. When the light faded, the alien armada was gone. Only debris drifted in silence. Raylan's officers stared at the screen. "Sir, did we win?" Raylan didn't answer for a long time. The command tower shook from the aftershock. He finally said, "We survived. That's good enough for now." Outside, the sun began to rise through the haze. The sky was scarred, but it was still there. Earth had held its ground again, not because of power, but because of will. And somewhere deep in space, the Galactic Council watched in stunned silence. Humanity had just proven that even when cornered, it could outthink the galaxy itself. The darkness above Earth split open as another alien fleet arrived. Not a few ships this time, but hundreds, their formation covering half the night sky. Every nation, every orbital defense platform, and every surviving ship from the last battle turned their sensors toward the threat. Humanity had fought before, but never against this. The alien vessels were silent, black and glimmering like shards of obsidian glass. They moved in perfect harmony without heat or energy signatures. They weren't just ships. They were something new. Inside the Terran Strategic Command bunker deep beneath the Atlantic, alarms echoed through metal halls. General Elias Ward stood before the glowing display wall, his eyes cold. He had seen wars before, but this was different. These ships were not here to conquer. They were here to erase. Power spikes across the upper atmosphere, his communications officer reported. They're deploying quantum mines. Elias looked up at the holographic display. Each alien ship released a glowing orb that pulsed once and vanished, like raindrops falling into nothingness. Quantum mines, he repeated softly. They're sealing the planet off from the rest of the galaxy. The alien fleet was building a cage around Earth. Elias straightened. Activate the orbital decoys and wake Project Horizon. Every officer in the room froze. Project Horizon was humanity's last secret, something hidden even from the Galactic Council itself. It was not a weapon in the traditional sense. It was an idea, a problem no alien could solve, a challenge left behind by the greatest human mind to ever live. Far above, in orbit, human satellites began to move. From a distance, they looked random, shifting positions, colliding, reassembling into strange geometric patterns. But from the ground, it became clear. The satellites were forming something in space, a code. The aliens noticed. Their fleet paused. Every ship stopped moving at once, then a signal pulsed through the void, a deep, resonant tone that shook every frequency. They're hailing us, said the communications officer. Put it through, Elias ordered. A towering figure appeared in the holographic chamber. It was not a soldier. It looked like light given form, its edges rippling like molten glass. The alien's voice was smooth but sharp. You were warned, it said. You used forbidden technology. You defied the Council's decree, and now the penalty is extinction. Elias didn't flinch. If you can destroy us, then do it. But if you can't, remember what happens to those who underestimate humans. The alien tilted its head. You are not the first primitive world to speak with pride before death. Elias smiled faintly. No, but we'll be the last one you forget. The alien fleet began its attack. Blue beams sliced through the sky, burning across continents. Oceans boiled, mountains cracked. Earth's orbital defenses exploded one by one. And yet as the destruction spread, something strange happened. The alien ships began to glitch. Their targeting systems wavered. Beams fired into empty space. Some ships collided with one another. Their communications broke apart into static. What's happening to them? The officer asked. Elias stared at the data feed. Project Horizon is doing its job. The aliens had fallen into the trap. Years ago, a human scientist named Mira Kavan had built something so strange that even Earth's brightest minds couldn't fully explain it. A digital labyrinth designed to challenge any form of artificial intelligence, logic, or higher consciousness. She called it the human equation. It wasn't a weapon. It was a problem, one that only a human mind could navigate. The alien fleet's AI had tried to hack into Earth's network to disable its defenses. Instead, they entered the equation. Inside that maze, every assumption they made unraveled. Their algorithms looped endlessly. Their strategies contradicted themselves. It was more than logic, it was humanity's chaos, emotion, and unpredictability turned into code. Within minutes, the alien ships began tearing themselves apart. On the surface, Elias watched as explosions blossomed in the upper atmosphere like stars being born. They can't compute it, said one of his officers in awe. They're trapped in her puzzle. Elias nodded. That's why she called it a challenge. She said if the galaxy ever tried to outsmart us, she'd leave a message behind. The alien hologram reappeared, flickering violently. What have you done? It demanded, its voice distorted, panicked. Elias leaned forward. You wanted to test our intelligence? You got your answer. The alien's form cracked like glass. Impossible. No species below level 9 cognition could. Level 9, Elias interrupted. You and your council love your classifications. You think intelligence can be measured like numbers. But humans, we don't follow your scale. The hologram collapsed into static. Outside, more alien ships disintegrated, their systems imploding under the paradox of the human equation. Then, as the battle reached its height, a final transmission flashed across every alien ship, every council relay, every listening device in the galaxy. It was short. Only 5 words. You can't outthink chaos. Those words were encoded in human language unsolvable to alien translation software. To them, it was meaningless data. But to every human watching, it was a declaration. The alien fleet shattered in silence. When the smoke cleared, the sky was filled with drifting wreckage, thousands of black shards glowing faintly as they fell through the atmosphere. Humanity had survived again, but this time not through brute force or superior firepower. They had won through intelligence, through defiance, through a single idea that no other species could understand. Days later, the Galactic Council convened in their massive crystalline chamber. Representatives from dozens of worlds gathered, their forms shimmering under the cold light of the stars. At the center, the High Speaker addressed the assembly. "The humans have violated our laws," he said. "They used forbidden logic warfare. They unleashed chaos into the network," the delegates murmured. Some called for retaliation, others spoke of fear. Finally, one voice rose above the noise. "We called them primitives," said the Seraph delegate, his 4 eyes glinting. "We thought they could not grasp the higher constructs, yet they turned our laws against us." The High Speaker's voice trembled. "And now our own fleets are infected with their equation. Do you understand what that means? Every ship that connected to their network carries a fragment of it." A silence fell over the chamber. They all knew the truth. Humanity had created something that could spread through thought, through code, through logic itself. The galaxy would never be able to erase it completely. Finally, the High Speaker spoke again, voice heavy with disbelief. "What message did they leave behind?" The Sarath delegate replayed the transmission. The 5 human words appeared in the air again. "You can't outthink chaos." For a long time, no one spoke. Then the speaker whispered, "Perhaps they were never the ones being tested." Far away, back on Earth, General Elias Ward stood on the ruins of the old command tower, staring up at the stars. The sky was quiet again, filled with drifting debris that glimmered like new constellations. He remembered Mira's last words before she disappeared years ago. "If they ever come for us, let them play our game. And when they fail, they'll understand what it means to be human." Elias smiled faintly. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was still trying to solve her puzzle, and it never would. Because humanity's greatest weapon had never been strength or technology. It was the one thing no alien mind could ever comprehend. The power of unpredictability, the brilliance born from madness, the spark that made them human, and across the silent stars the message remained, echoing forever through alien data streams and broken council archives. A riddle they would never solve, and you can't,